Am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my niece's wedding after promising to cover it? So, I'm a 35-year-old guy, and I've always been close with my older sister, Emily, 38F, and her daughter, Lily, 22F. Emily had Lily when she was young, 16, and since she was a single mom for most of it, I've always tried to help out where I could. Over the years, I paid for Lily's summer camps, her college applications, and even her first car. I did this because I loved them both and always wanted to support them. A year ago, Lily got engaged to her long-term boyfriend. When they announced the engagement at a family dinner, I said I'd be happy to help with wedding expenses. I never said I'd pay for everything, but apparently, my offer was interpreted as me footing the bill for the whole wedding. It became clear when Lily and Emily started planning a big, extravagant affair, destination wedding, 200+ guests, you name it. I sat them down and said I'd contribute $15,000, which I thought was a pretty generous amount. But they both seemed really upset. Lily said I promised to pay for the wedding, and Emily backed her up, saying I always supported them, and this was the least I could do. Apparently, they were expecting I'd cover a $50,000 plus wedding. I told them that wasn't happening. $15,000 was all I could give. Now, here's where things get worse. Lily and Emily stopped including me in the wedding planning entirely. I didn't hear much from them for a while, and it turns out they booked everything for the wedding thinking I'd eventually cave and cover it. Now they're in over their heads, and the wedding is just 3 months away. Emily called me, crying, saying they were going to lose deposits and that I ruined the wedding by not coming through. Lily isn't speaking to me. Here's the kicker. Emily and Lily are now saying I'm being manipulative, offering to help and then taking it away at the last second, making them look bad in front of the groom's family. They claim they never would have planned something so extravagant if I hadn't promised to cover it all. But I never said that. I said I'd help. I feel like I've done more than enough over the years, but now I'm being treated like the villain for not paying for this giant wedding. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole, but I never said that. I said I'd help. I feel like I've done more than enough over the years, but now I'm being treated like the villain for not paying for this giant wedding. Your sister and niece are acting like spoiled children. $15,000 is a very generous gift for the wedding. Apparently, they were expecting I'd cover a $50,000 plus wedding. I told them that wasn't happening. $15,000 was all I could give. After you told them that $15,000 was your gift, they went and planned the $50K wedding. How much is your sister and the groom's family putting towards the wedding? Not the asshole, how incredibly entitled. I think it's absolutely awful how they're trying to take advantage of your generosity. If an uncle offered to give me $15,000 for anything, I'd be so grateful. They dug this hole themselves, and now they're finding out your boundaries are, in fact, actual boundaries that you plan to stick to. Good for you. They could have planned a perfect good wedding for $15,000 or threw in a bit of their own money for a $20,000 wedding, SMH. Jesus. I wish I had someone generous to give me $15K. I can't imagine booking a wedding I couldn't afford to cover myself, let alone scoffing at someone pitching in 15 grand. You sat here down and clarified everything with lots of notice. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You're nothing more than a bank account to these people. They'll bleed your bank account dry, and once it's all gone, so are they. Not the asshole. I could understand that they got used to you as a provider of sorts, but this is beyond ungrateful. You put so much effort into making their lives easier and contributing what you could. This is incredibly disrespectful to your efforts, and it seems as if they are trying to take advantage of you, and when you didn't let them, they got upset. And not including you in the planning even though you were offering to pay for a portion of it is disgustingly petty. I hope you sort this out and they realize it's unreasonable for them to keep relying on you and demanding for things out of your expense, and just enjoy the event itself no matter how big or small it is as a family. Here's an even easier solution. Say $15,000 or no dollars. And that's that. They want to spend $50,000 with someone else's money. Tell them that someone else is not going to be you. Am I the asshole for replying no when mother-in-law asked if I would apologize for my wife, her daughter? My wife lost her dad 9 months ago. We learned a few days later she was pregnant. For a few weeks she had such a hard time coping with the fact she was expecting our first child after losing her dad, and the fact he would never get to meet his grandkids or live to be a living, breathing grandfather. She ended up seeking therapy because it was a struggle for her to get back on track. I was doing everything I could to support her. In that time mother-in-law was around a lot. My wife was their only child, so mother-in-law leaned on her and sought out the comfort of having family. They grew closer than ever before, and slowly mother-in-law started spending less time with us. But she'd still stop by, and they wanted mother-in-law to be there for a 3D, 4D ultrasound my wife was booked in for. I was also there, of course. On the day of, mother-in-law showed up with a man and introduced him as her boyfriend. She said she wanted to include him in such a special moment. My wife said he was not coming into the room with us and they argued before my wife told mother-in-law to leave. Mother-in-law and my wife fought more afterward because my wife didn't say hi or anything to Mill's boyfriend. And because mother-in-law felt my wife should have been more open to including him. Things became tense because my wife told mother-in-law she couldn't be around him yet. Mother-in-law tried pushing and pushing but my wife held firm. When my wife had our baby she let mother-in-law know and mother-in-law wanted her and the boyfriend to visit to meet their grandchild. My wife said she could come but he was not welcome. A week later, just this past weekend in fact, mother-in-law dropped by to confront my wife over this. Mother-in-law told her she was being selfish and how her boyfriend is lovely and would be a wonderful grandfather and how she can't force them apart. My wife said that's fine. If she can't come without him then she'd just have to accept it. Mother-in-law said she doesn't have to. Just accept him and let our child have a grandfather. Accept having another older male presence in her life. My wife lost her temper and yelled at mother-in-law that the boyfriend is not our child's grandfather, is not anything to her and nobody she dates will ever be able to fill those shoes. Then my wife left the room and went to cry. She wanted some space so I gave it to her and told mother-in-law she needed to leave. Mother-in-law wouldn't leave at first and then she goes, "I suppose you'll apologize for her now," and I just said no. Nothing else, just no. And then I was able to get her to leave. She made some kind of angry face at me and told me I didn't need to be so rude about saying no. That I didn't need to mock her. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. You don't bring a boyfriend to meet the family at an ultrasound. Even the boyfriend should have known that. The Mills comments make it seem like she's trying to fill in the void that the Phil's passing left, and she's doing it quickly. I hope she's not rushing into things. If your mother-in-law wants to introduce the new boyfriend to your child, she needs to take the time to introduce him to you and your wife away from the kid. And based on what's happened so far, it's going to take a lot of time. Don't apologize to your Mill. You should have just laughed at her comment and told her to get out. Mother-in-law wanted to bring a stranger into your wife's ultrasound and that guy was apparently also fine with it. That's messed up. Not the asshole and it sounds like you don't need her around. Not the asshole. Thank you for sticking up for your wife. Mother-in-law felt my wife should have been more open to including him. No, mother-in-law had no right to even bring him to the ultrasound. Mother-in-law needs to realize just because she is on a rebound that doesn't mean your wife has to accept anyone, especially when it's being forced on her. Please keep this woman away from your child until she seeks therapy. Not the asshole at all. Your mother-in-law is the most pushiest person I have ever heard about. After 9 months she is pushing this person to be a replacement father and grandfather? Oh, hell no. And this? She made some kind of angry face at me and told me I didn't need to be so rude about saying no. That I didn't need to mock her. I would have said yes, we do need to mock you and rude and not caring about her at all. She deserved that and much, much more. The audacity of some people indeed knows no bounds. So, you have to create a firm boundary to excise this person from your family's life. She isn't worth any consideration whatsoever based upon her abhorrent actions. Mother-in-law has some fantasy in her head that new boyfriend can make everyone feel better and take on the roles of your dead Phil. It doesn't work like that. If he makes her feel better, good, but it'll take time for him to be considered family if he ever is. Start suggesting therapy to her if she brings it up again because you're concerned about her. That she would risk her relationship with daughter and grandchild over a man she's only known a few months. People do weird things when grieving, but the reality is this is hurtful to your wife and a bit creepy even if it wasn't to have him pushed in like this. Dude, the ultrasound? WTF. Godfather-in-law is barely cold and she's bringing new, Gramps, round face with rolling eyes. I'm not surprised wife isn't having any of it. Losing a parent at any time is difficult. Finding out you're pregnant just afterwards is definitely gonna mess with your emotions. If mother-in-law is happy with the new man then good for her, but forcing him onto her daughter as a replacement grandparent is a bog no-no. Am I the asshole for asking my uncle what the hell does he expect me to do? I'm 22 female, not that close with my uncle. He's my mom's brother and they're close but he and I never were. My uncle has 4 kids. 2 sets of kids from 2 marriages to be accurate. His older kids, Evan and Sasha, are a little bit older than me but we were very close growing up and remain close. Their mom died and my uncle remarried and has 2 more kids who are 11 and 9, Hannah and Caleb. Evan and Sasha don't talk to my uncle anymore and they don't talk to her. See, Hannah and Caleb are my uncle's wife, Hannah and Caleb's mom. Sasha started streaming video games about a year ago. She started getting noticed more recently and kids at Hannah and Caleb's school were talking about Sasha, which led to them seeing a video and realizing who the kids were talking about. They watched some of her streams, and during a couple of them Sasha had been asked about siblings and Evan was in her stream chat and she told people she had an older brother and shouted out Evan. Both times she was saying it as though Evan was her only sibling. This upset Hannah and Caleb and they told my uncle and they cried about it to their parents. My uncle tried to contact Sasha but she changed her number so he couldn't. Then he approached me mad, like really mad, and he told me I need to fix this and get Sasha and Evan to stop acting this way. He said it's beyond cruel to ignore the fact they have 2 younger siblings who miss them, and then to go public like that and only say they have 1 sibling. He said since they stayed close to me I can fix it. I asked him what the hell he expects me to do. He told me it should be obvious what I need to say but clearly not when I have a bratty attitude at my big age, his words. He told me I clearly don't want to and have no problem with what they're doing so I'll just disrespect him. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. This upset Hannah and Caleb and they told my uncle and they cried about it to their parents. My uncle tried to contact Sasha but she changed her number so he couldn't. Then he approached me mad, like really mad, and he told me I need to fix this and get Sasha and Evan to stop acting this way. He said it's beyond cruel to ignore the fact they have 2 younger siblings who miss them, and then to go public like that and only say they have 1 sibling. He said since they stayed close to me I can fix it. It sounds like your uncle screwed up when trying to integrate the family. Were there known issues when your uncle remarried and had more kids? Not the asshole. He didn't even have a real ask. Fix it is not something you tell your niece to do. Especially because he obviously has no relationship with his older 2 kids. Changing your phone number and giving the new one to your cousin but not your dad says a lot. Definite not the asshole. This isn't even your business, let alone your responsibility. Uncle has gone off it. Not the asshole. Yeah, it sounds like it's your job to fix his bad relationship with his oldest kids. I would block him, and I'd tell my mom, her brother, is a mess and blaming people for problems he created and he's blocked until he can apologize and speak to me respectfully. And even if you were inclined to try to help, obviously you shouldn't and won't, this is his mess. You couldn't. His current concern is that his youngest kid's feelings are hurt, but the bigger issue is that he doesn't even have his daughter number. Things are so bad one of his kids isn't speaking with him and his focus was finding another way to yell at her to not make the kids that matter to him sad. Not the asshole. He wants you to use your family connection to bully his adult children who have gone no contact with him over their not recognizing younger siblings in a gaming chatroom? This man could not be more ridiculous. First of all, they're not denouncing their siblings or saying anything bad about them, and secondly it's not good to put that much personal information about yourself online. Thirdly, most important, it's their choice, they're adults. He needs to grow a set and get out of your space because this is not a you problem and your age has nothing to do with it. A man of his big age, which is a weird-ass expression, should know better. What an ignorant man. Not the asshole. Did the half-siblings even care about Sasha before they realized their friends knew who she was? It won't change my judgment, but I'm wondering why this need for togetherness is only there when it benefits the younger kids. Am I the asshole for not making my fiancé a list of things to do for our daughter? I'll try to keep this as short as possible. I 24F and my fiancé 25M had a rather large disagreement this morning. While I was brushing my teeth and using the bathroom, my fiancé placed our daughter to watch her show in her high chair and then just proceeded to watch TikToks for the next approximately 10-15 minutes straight while my daughter waited. I finally came out and saw this and asked why he hadn't made any breakfast for her yet. He proceeds to say, I was waiting to ask you what to make for her. Note. She is 1 and eats scrambled eggs on daycare days like today. I said that's a lie, you know what she eats by now. Anyways, this comment sparked a disagreement between us because I vented about his lack of assistance in helping to get her or any of her belongings ready to go in the morning. His solution after getting frustrated with me was to tell me I need to make him a list of what I would like him to do for her. And I refused as I said I don't want to mother him as well, and as her parent he should know what needs to be done. Diaper changes, outfit, teeth brushing, daycare bottles cleaned and filled up, etc. I tried explaining that as her mom no one ever gives me a list. I simply look around or think about what needs to be done. So I guess my question is, am I the asshole for refusing to make the list? Not the asshole. You're right. He's a parent too, and these are basic tasks he should be able to manage without needing a list. It's understandable that you don't want to take on the mental load of managing everything for him, especially when you already have your hands full. Parenting should be a shared responsibility, and it sounds like you just want him to step up and be more proactive. Maybe a conversation about expectations and communication could help clear things up, but asking for a list seems like a cop-out on his part. You're not being unreasonable at all. Weaponized incompetence. Be aware I'm biased in my vote. That is a complete deal breaker for me, so I can't even imagine why are you engaged. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. It's often the female partner's job to carry the mental load of everything that has to be done, and men try to tell us that they only need instructions or they want to be told what to do, or asked to help around the house. This is not your responsibility. Their boss doesn't make a list of every small thing they need to do at work and they still manage to get their job done. Similarly, there's a big disconnect if your fiancé doesn't know what your daughter eat for breakfast, he's simply not bothering paying attention. Also, make a list. Not the asshole. What I would like him to do for her. He's over here acting like it's your kid. Not the asshole. And honestly, I am so proud that you realized this, called him out immediately, indicated that as a parent he holds the same responsibility to care for his child, and to be familiar with her needs. Babies don't come with manuals, and the only way you get good and recognizing their needs is to trial and error. This is all exactly correct. If he needs a list, he should write down the list, think about the things, and then pilot it to see if anything is missing. Stay-at-home dad here, nah, you're cool. Your mister needs to get his head in the game. Babies need food and he knows that. He's fucked a baby into you. It's safe to say he's capable of knocking on the bathroom door to ask what you usually give your child for breakfast, for fuck's sake. Man needs to get his head out of his ass.